Hey guys, welcome back. We got some sprouts starting to sprout. I've had them outside this whole time and I think I'm going to bring them in. It looks like something might be getting a few of them. That's okay. I'll just put them in and put them under a light. I've got way more started than I have room for. So we've got tiara cabbage, Song's cauliflower, purple moon cauliflower, mini broccoli, and Brussels sprouts. So the Brussels sprouts are not going in the hydroponic system. We'll find somewhere outside for them. It's a little late to be putting brassicas out, but we'll see. I might put together another hydroponic system for some Brussels sprouts. We'll see about that. My nutrient came yesterday, so I just need to get these up to size and then we'll be in business. But right now I'm going to take you over there and give you the 5-cent tour of my Dutch bucket system. Okay, normally this is going to live in the garage over there. It is, I've got it out here just so I can show it to you better. There's hardly any room in there. It'll be quite the challenge to get any video done in there, so I dragged everything out here. I've got it all plugged in back here. So we're plugged in the wall, and this comes up to a power strip, and I've got all the lights plugged in to the power strip, as well as my programmable timer that I've got the pump hooked up to currently. I've got some more timers ordered, so for now I'm just going to have the pump on the timer, and I'll set it to turn on and off, you know, a few times a day. And I'll just get up and turn the lights on, and then when I go to bed, turn them off. Probably leave them on a long time. I need to do some research on broccoli, because I'm pretty sure that the light hours depend on when it flowers. I was talking to the wife about it, and she was saying that to plant it outside, you need to have it so big before the winter comes, or else it won't get the amount of light hours. I don't know. I haven't read up on that, but definitely we'll need to do that. So anyway, there's a pump down in the reservoir. I'll give you a little bit closer look at all this. This is just a quick overview. And it comes up to 16 1/4-inch vinyl tubes, and each bucket has 2, and they're both clipped in there so they don't fall out or anything like that. And of course, the buckets are filled with the expanded clay balls. The lights, they're just something I got off of AliExpress. It was weird when I ordered them. I ordered 6 of them. First 4 of them came in, and they were all individual. It got me a little bit worried, so I got on there and I messaged them, and the first person I talked to said, yeah, just go ahead and confirm your order, and then you can, you know, apply for a refund. Well, I went to confirm it, and it said, you know, something like, only push this button if you've received all of your order, and then AliExpress will hand over payment to the seller. So I didn't feel comfortable with that. I figured, well, maybe the other 2 are just a day or 2 behind, something like that. So I didn't do anything. I waited. Next day, nothing came. So I messaged them again, got somebody different, and explained to them the situation. And they actually gave me 2 tracking numbers. So I was quite relieved. And I was keeping an eye on the tracking numbers, And then several days later, one more showed up, and then several more days. The last one showed up yesterday, the same day that the nutrient arrived. So I'm very happy that all that worked out. So for our drain, the water goes through the buckets. It fills up the buckets to just below this drain. It comes out of the drain through a special filter that's built into the drain, and then goes in this PVC on each layer, and then back down to the reservoir. I don't know if you can see, but to make this work, I needed a slight grade to these so the water would drain this way. Well, if you just stick PVC pipe together like that, it's going to be cockeyed in there. So what I did was I glued everything in there like it was going to be all at right angles, and then I took a heat gun and I heated this joint and bent it, and then I heated this joint and bent it, just so everything would be a little more straight. And this comes off, and I made this just because. So that's our return. And now we'll give you a closer look of everything. Let me try to get some. Anyway, down there is an 800 liter per minute pump that I got off of Amazon. And I've got it coming up from one of the fittings that came with it that fits 1/2-inch irrigation line, and a hose clamp holding that on there, and then it comes up to a commercial irrigation line T, and then off of that T, let me just pick it up out of here. Off of the T, I've got some fittings that I made. They go up to some more fittings that I made for the manifolds. Each manifold has 8 lines going to it. I didn't feel like designing that, so I just went to Lowe's and bought them for $8 a piece. Now, these 90-degree elbows, they kind of leak, and I'm not too concerned about it. When I was thinking about it, I figured, you know, well, should I put a riser on this and have all this coming out, or should I just have it all in here? I figured there were so many chances for this particular portion of it to have a leak that I would just go ahead and consolidate it all down in here so it wouldn't matter if it leaked. So I do get a couple of dribbles out of I'm not really sure where they're coming from. I don't care. They could be coming from this fitting or this fitting. When I made this fitting, I don't really know how to make a flared in pipe thread. So those are just straight threads with telephone tape on them. So that could be the culprit. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because it's all in here anyway. So with those Orbit 8-port manifolds, each one of them is, you can control the flow on it. I've just got them all wide open, and then, you know, they come up to our hoses. I'll try to catch this when it goes off at noon to show you, but that's our clip that I showed you in the previous video, and it just slides over, clips on there, and the vinyl hose kind of keeps it where you want it. It would go down here to our drain. Now I've made version 2 of the drain. I've made version 2s of everything. You know, there were some little tiny things that I didn't like about each one of them. The only thing about the clips was I just made them out of a different material. I think now I'll get out another bucket and show you that. I had to put, one of these was leaking yesterday, so I just went rummaging and found a bunch of hose clamps and went ahead and did all of them with the hose clamp, and then I redesigned this, so hopefully we won't need a hose clamp for that anymore. But this is the same elbow fitting as pump side, which doesn't seem to have a problem in the drain where there's not really any pressure on it, but I went ahead and redesigned it anyway. We'll have a look at that now. I thought I'd show you how one of these goes together while I was showing you the parts. So here is the first version of the drain, and water comes in through here and it's allowed in here and comes out here. The reason I think that that one was leaking was because there's only that one rib on here. So I changed that day before yesterday to this and made it out of PETG instead of PLA. So everything else is the same about it. And if you're wondering how I designed that filter part of it, that's a trick I'll get into another day. I've never done any videos using a screen capture or I'm trying to remember what you call it, but you know, you'll see tutorials where you just see somebody's screen recorder. But I found one of those yesterday, so I'll be doing some screen recorded videos for you guys, showing you how to do certain things and CAD and your slicer and all that. Anyway, let's put this one together. Now these nuts have a little chamfer right in here on either side of them. And that is for holding silicone, and then when you tighten them both down, they squeeze all that silicone in there and seal everything up really nicely. So that goes on one end. I like to get the threads flush with that one. The cheapest silicone I could find happened to be white, which is good for contrast. So that just goes in like so. That's made the hole with a 3/4 inch hole saw. And then on this one, I'll go ahead and start it. Actually, I'll go ahead and put some of this on these threads. Like so. And as I start this, you know, you don't realize it, but videos that show people doing things with their hands, they're quite difficult to make. So we should see all that squeeze out. And how nice and neat is that? So our water comes up to here, and then begins to drain through the filter and on back through the system. Now, just going to make sure that's as tight as it's going to get, because with this you'll get to where you think it's tight, and then a little bit of pressure will leave, and then you go back and you can tighten it more. But yeah, that is not going to leak. So I don't have one of the old elbows. All of those are in use, but this is the new one, and this is printed in that orientation. Now when you're dealing with this black pipe, this irrigation line, and they also make it for pressurized water delivery, you can, if it's too stiff, you can heat it up with a torch or a heat gun, and then it becomes very pliable. Yeah, that's the first time I've used one of these, so I'm glad that went well. And another tip, if you're using this 1/2-inch line, it cuts really nicely with pruners. I used to work a lot with it on a tree farm. Alrighty, nice and neat. And then from there, you would just cut whatever length of irrigation line you'd need to drop down into your return, because each one of them is going to be a different length according to the drop in the pipe as you get closer to the drain. One other interesting thing while I'm here is that I finally tried one of these. Now what this is it allows you to save your silicone, and I didn't come with any instructions, but I think the way you're supposed to use it is you put that in there almost all the way, and then squeeze it, get all the air out, and then just clip it in. Now, I've had this closed like this for at least a week, and I just got it out, and it was, you know, perfectly fine. I just picked that up at Lowe's. It was in the paint section. If you need to connect a power strip to the back of one of these wire racks, I'll show you how I did it. Probably gonna need both, might need both hands. Maybe I can just get it partially off. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, there's slots in the back of this for screws. And I just marked out the proper location and put a couple of screws in this piece of wood, and then put it up against here. And then attach my power strip. So that ain't going nowhere. I was thinking this would be useful in organizing the 1/4-inch vinyl lines, but it didn't really turn out to be very useful. On the other hand, the driver clips I made for connecting the drivers to the rack turned out to be quite useful. When I designed them, I just wanted to get the profile and run a test print. So I got the profile, ran a test print, stuck it on the driver, and said, hey, I don't need to do any more work to these. And just ran off 8 of them, and there they are. Now, that being a LED driver, and these being PLA, that remains to see how hot that driver is going to get and whether or not the PLA will hold up to it. But like I said in the other video, this is just some, you know, kind of, you know, play with PLA. So It's good for sizing things and getting everything right before you, you know, go full bore into your prints you're going to use. That's another thing I'll do, is if I've got to fit it to something, a lot of times I'll just design that specific part that needs to fit onto something else, and I'll print that just to make sure the fitment is right before I print an entire thing for whatever. When I went to mount the lights, I figured the chain would be a good thing to use because I can adjust it up and down fairly easily. I bought 6 of these lights, and they come with this hardware, but I've never figured out, you know, quite how to use that on one of these racks. So for the top, I dug out my chain and cut some sections of it, and then I ran out of chain, so I went to the hardware store and I looked for more of this chain, and they didn't have it. And I'm kind of anal when it comes to mixing and matching things, so I didn't buy any chain, and I figured, well, maybe I need to take a look at those rope ratchets again. So down here I cut some sections of that type of chain because I had the drain to deal with, and strung them under it, the same number of links in each one. So when the plants get full size and I'll have a light on either side of the drain, I won't have to deal with it that way anymore. But until they get up there, I've got the rope ratchet strapped around it like so. And I imagine I'll probably do the same thing up there when the time comes. So that is the timer for the water pump going off. And these timers are dirt cheap. I just got several of them on AliExpress for $4 a piece, delivered. It just comes with the timer, so you got to wire up everything to it. And I made the housing for it, specifically for this rack, and the clip here is enough to grab a hold of that, but I decided that I'd rather have a little bit more insurance, so I'll put some places on there for the zip ties. And behind here it's just a regular outlet, and the timer itself is plugged into my power strip. When those other timers come in, I'll make a video and build one of these for y'all. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here for this video. Next video, I think we're going to get into a little bit more about how I design and print the parts. You might be interested in 3D printing. Maybe I can just push you over that ledge and show you just how easy it can be, how easy it is to actually just get started. Once you get started, you know, you just got to rip that Band-Aid off, and but it's so much easier to get started with 3D printing these days. I've only been doing it just over a year, and using CAD even less. You know, coming from nothing like an engineering background or anything like that. So be on the lookout for that. But right now, I don't know. I've just really got to pee bad for some reason. So I'll see y'all later.